The Cold War heats up. Couldn't take too long. The Cold War heats up first in the Asian territories. First is in China. China had been fighting a civil war for years, led by the nationalist organization led by Chiang Kai-shek. Shek is going to lose to the communist Mao Zedong. The Nationalist Party, when it loses, is going to flee to the island nation of Formosa, which is next to China. They're going to call it Taiwan. The American government refuses to recognize the communist leadership of China for 30 years. For 30 years, the United States is going to recognize the nationalists on Taiwan as the legitimate government of China. It's not until Nixon in the 70s that they recognized the communist government. That's going to lead to other further problems. Also, in the 1949, the Soviets are going to develop and test their first atomic bomb. This ends the American monopoly on atomic weaponry. And now, every time the United States threatens to use atomic bombs, the Soviets can say, we have them too. And it's going to ratchet up tensions now because by the mid-50s or so, they're going to start developing hydrogen weapons, which are exponentially larger than atomic bombs. And by the 1960s, we're threatening literally the entire existence of humanity on the face of the earth through atomic weapons. So Korea. Korea is we're going to talk about this more in a second, but Korea is going to be one of the big hot spots in the 1950s. During World War II, the United States was planning an invasion of Japan. And in that invasion of Japan, they were worried that it was going to cost about 500,000 American soldiers their lives just to take the island and then maintain the island. So they had asked for Soviet help in that invasion and occupation. The Soviets occupied Korea, the peninsula next to Japan, as a way to then step into Japan if needed. The Soviets, while they were there, set up a communist government in North Korea. In response, the United States is going to set up a democratic government in South Korea. By the end of 1949, both the Soviets and the United States have left Korea, but they've left these governments in place. And what's going to end up happening is 2 million North Koreans are going to flee into South Korea. This is going to anger the communists there. And we're going to have our first Cold War, hot war in Korea, which we'll talk about next.